Chap, sometimes when we talk about the church has a plan, the church has a vision, the church is going to disciple, we'll get a reaction. Isn't it the parents' job to disciple the children? Are we arrogating to ourselves or to the church something that is primarily a parental responsibility? How do you respond to that question when you get it?
Well, obviously there's something to that. Parents have a major role. They're the primary influence in their kids' lives. In terms of nature and nurture, their parents are the primary environmental specialists for their kids. And even Martin Luther said, the father's the bishop, the mother's the priest. And there's been a lot of models over the many centuries that basically say it's that Western family orientation, that separatist individual way of looking at faith, that if that family does their job, then the church's job is to kind of support them. But we have a faith community that has a trajectory a lot longer than back in the Middle Ages. We go back thousands and thousands of years of what God has revealed to us, and what the people of faith have seen is it's more than just parents. Parents were never intended by God to be on their own to raise their kids. Parents were part of a community and had the support of the community as they loved their children and as they loved all children. And so the faith journey of a kid, yes, does belong to parents, but on the other hand, it belongs to all of us. Now, what does this mean for youth ministry? Well, youth ministry's taken a different tack. Youth ministry has taken the tack that says we're going to hire somebody, we're going to get volunteers, and we're going to give them a sense of community and ownership in their own peer group. We're going to give them the ability to love each other and support and train each other, because not many adults are going to do it, and as youth ministry people we know, most parents aren't going to do it either. And that's just going way too far on the other side, as opposed to seeing youth workers and parents being supported by a community of faith and all coming in together to undercut this thing we call systemic abandonment, which I've talked about in other segments. It takes a whole bunch of people. Where we came up with in the book Sticky Faith, and I've been talking and writing about it for over a decade, is that a guy named William Damon at Stanford University talked about the community charter. And in his community charter, he realized that you need a coach, a teacher, a neighbor, extended family, parents. In other words, a kid really needs a group of people. What Hillary Clinton's ghostwriter put, it takes a village, using that African proverb. Well, that's a proverb from every ancient culture. It takes all of us to raise a kid. So I took Damon's idea, these ancient proverbs, what the scriptures teach, and was doing an interview, and they said, how many adults does it take? If it doesn't just take parents, does it just take youth workers? And I said, well, it's got to be more than 3 non-parental adults, because it's got to be longevity. There needs to be kind of I'm going to be with you for a long, long time as you explore faith. And you're not going to get 7, because that's going to be way too much. That kid's going to go, leave me alone a little bit. So I said 5. Need 5 to 1. We've had a 5 to 1 in youth ministry for a long time, right? We've thought of 5 to 1, but we always think of 1 adult, 5 kids, because you can drive somewhere sort of legal, right? You can put 4 in seat belts and one's a senior pastor's kid, and who cares? Mm-hmm. So the idea of 5 to 1 has been, yeah, I can do a small group, I can go on a mission trip, I go to camp, 5 kids, 1 leader, I can do the task of ministry. That's not what we're talking about. We need to undercut systemic abandonment, build a community for every kid, so we need to shift 5 to 1, where every kid, by the time they graduate from high school, has 5 non-parental adults that knows their name, knows their story, prays for them, is committed to that kid. And to me, that is the future of youth ministry. That youth ministry creates an environment where a kid has his own peer group, but also has these multiple adults that are walking with them. So when they come home at Thanksgiving on their sophomore year of college, it's not the youth group anymore, but it's these 3 or 4 other people that ask how they're doing, that write them notes and letters, that they actually are part of the community of faith. And so this 5 to 1, if we think of a kids being adopted into the community by these 5 non-parental adults, and youth ministry supports that, that to me is the future of youth ministry.